People in Gainesville are taking a trip back to the time of bebop and big bands. TV 20's Ethan Badowski is live at the Cade Museum. Ethan, who's the concert honoring tonight?
Well, the concert is over now, but the lawn here at the Cade Museum was absolutely packed with people for a concert honoring Duke Ellington. The concert was led by the Thousand Voices of North Central Florida, and they were joined by a wonderful jazz band playing some of Ellington's hits. Leaders at the museum say they started the concert in 2020 to inspire hope during the pandemic.
I'm really not a music connoisseur, but I do like gospel and jazz together.
And this is a good mix of that.
And so it's very uplifting music. You can't help but tap your toes and
shake your head.
The concert coincided with what would have been Duke's birthday yesterday, and the weather could absolutely not have been more perfect. I have to say it was quite the relaxing way to spend the evening. Reporting live in Gainesville, Ethan Badowski, TV 20 News.